gonna start off with you for this one. I don't like. I know nobody likes to see this when somebody goes down. Definitely off a non-contact injury, whether it's in basketball or football. It sucks. Because we know these players want to play. They play at a high level. They have an opportunity to do something that people dream about playing in the NFL. So Kyle Murray suffered a torn ACL. So Corey, what do you think is next for the Cardinals, and do you think they keep Cliff Kingsbury?
What's next is
Yeah.
losing publicly on
Woo!
Hard Knocks.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Um, like all jokes aside, I agree. It sucks seeing a guy go down like that, especially this late in the season, because who knows if he's going to be ready to go for the start of next year at this point. Um, I think changes have to come to Arizona. They were building something, got to the playoffs, faltered at the end of the year each of the last two seasons. And then this year was just a total regression from the franchise. And then you throw in the fact that they're on the in-season Hard Knocks and everybody is watching them lose these games now and everyone sees it. I think that further embarrassment for ownership is very likely to spur on change. Owners don't like it. A lot of them hate losing. Everyone's going to hate doing it publicly. I think that the Murray injury might actually help facilitate that change as well, because you realize when you have a young quarterback that has talent, that window's short.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty apparent to just about anybody from the outside looking in that Cliff Kingsbury is not getting the most out of Kyler Murray. I think they are wasting away his prime years, and they need to clean house and bring in somebody who can develop him, because he's got all the tools. He's shown flashes, and a lot of this mess, like, it seems weird to point out, but ever since the fuss over the contract in the offseason, things have it's just been downhill for the Cardinals. So, their GM just announced like a half an hour ago that he's taking a medical leave away from the team. It's obviously, you hope he's okay. Medical conditions, never good. But it's hard not to look at that, look at the way the season's going, look at the hot seat that this team is on, and maybe wonder if he's not seeing the writing on the walls or potentially hearing some rumors going around internally in that office that his job isn't safe, and is building an escape route from that job without actually being fired. Because if he knows he's getting the axe, it kind of looks better if he just voluntarily walks away because of health, sits out a year, and then decides he's ready to jump back in, rather than just outright being fired. But they've got to bring in a new coach that can tap into Kyler's potential. I don't know that New Orleans would want Sean Payton in the NFC, but I think that's an interesting option for them to go out.
Said it was on his list.
And I mean, Kyler's a talented guy that I think Sean Payton could do some really interesting stuff with. I think Frank Reich should be on that list, because he has shown a proven track record of working with good quarterbacks. But Cliff ain't the guy. I mean, I said, just us sitting on a couch looking in have seen that Cliff isn't the guy for 3 years now. Arizona's got to pull that trigger, eat the money of the extension that you gave them, and move on to actually give your team a chance to win.
Craig, what you think? What did the Cardinals do next year, man? That's a big injury, and I mean, do you think they keep? So, what do you think? What do you think should be next for the Cardinals? And do you think they keep Cliff Kingsbury?
I mean, I don't think Kingsbury is going to be back next year. I thought last season was, I guess, the ceiling for him. Team was really, they kind of backed into the playoffs. Started out, I think, 8-0 or something like that, or whatever it was. And then everything happened, and then they got to the playoffs, lost, and then everything on the off season with Kyler Murray about the whole contract stuff and the stuff that they put into the contract or supposedly put into the contract about watching film and all this other stuff. So had that going on, and then the season started, and then obviously I didn't think they were going to be a playoff team anyway, and maybe not 4-9 bad at this point, but I mean they're 4-9, so there's just a lot going on for this team. I think obviously they need to get rid of the coach, figure out what's going on with Kyler, see how long he's going to be out. He could be out pretty much all next season as well, and then now you're looking at Trace McSorley or Colt McCoy as your starting quarterback. I don't know. That's probably
Colt said he's ready.
That's
to
not
retire.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, that's what is being said.
I mean, maybe they can convince him to come back, especially if they know Kyler's going to be out for an extended period of time, and he's going to get a new coach. But then again, the new coach might not want Colt McCoy. Who knows what at that point? So I think the coach is the first thing. Then trying to figure out what's going on with Kyler. And I mean, and looking at this point, they're going to get like a top 10 pick in the draft. So maybe try to do something on the defensive side. Maybe I don't think there's any wide receiver that. I mean, they have wide receivers, but they don't really need that. They have. I think their offense is, especially the guys that they had to throw the ball to. I think they're fine. They have Zach Ertz, they have Rondell Moore, and they have Brown, and they have D-Hop. So they have a bunch of guys there. So it don't matter. I mean, I ain't gonna say it doesn't matter, but whoever comes in to play quarterback next year until Kyler gets back, I mean, they're gonna have options. They're gonna have a lot of guys that they can throw the ball to and rely on. And even Connor, I mean, he's a solid runner. Last season he had, I think, the most touchdowns in the NFL. So he's just been injured this year a little bit, but I think they need to focus on the defensive side in this upcoming draft and try to figure out that point, because the 49ers, I mean, they're not going anywhere. The Seahawks look surprisingly better. And the Rams, I don't know what's going to happen with them because obviously their quarterback situation as well. But I think once they get everybody back healthy, it could be maybe coming back for that team. And I think it could be they could be a contender possibly for that division at least. So you're looking at the Cardinals right now as the worst team in that division. So it's going to be another long season, especially if Kyler's out for a while. And it might be just the best. I mean, it might be beneficial for them just to hold them out all next season as well, especially if they start out.
To make sure he's completely healthy.
They're 3-9 after 12 games, and Kyler's ready to come back. I mean, there's really no point, and you might just go ahead and just sit him, or maybe maybe I guess you can put him out there to see what you got and see what he can do. But at the same time, he's your franchise quarterback, so you might not want to risk that. But the Cardinals are in trouble, I think, because they're just. I mean, other than Kyler Murray, I mean, I don't know what really because D-Hop is getting older. Hollywood Brown's been hurt. Zach Ertz got hurt just recently. Rondell Moore's been hurt. So I mean, their franchise guy, or the face of the franchise, is Kyler Murray. He's probably not going to be there for a lot of the games next year. So there are some. There's always going to be some pretty good coaching options out there, and with Kyler Murray being your quarterback and as young as he is, obviously this team could be, and it's in Arizona, so maybe that could persuade some people. It's warm and all that, but I think it could be a solid destination for whoever's going to come in and be a coach. Hopefully they get somebody really good, somebody that knows the offense and wants to run. I would say get an offensive guy, but I'll see what happens. I don't know who that's going to be. We'll see what happens in this offseason. So, but I think just they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think, unfortunately, I don't know if you bring back Tyler this time next year, because if you're 4-9 again, it's no point of bringing in your quarterback whose cap hit is the next season $37 million. That's his base salary. It kicks in, so the contract he signed kicks in 2024. So I think he's probably not gonna have a year. Now here's the thing. They have a good offense. They've had a ton of injuries this year. Their GM just walked away. And GM probably gonna walk away from medical issues. And then you gotta think this is probably really stressful because totally healthy, I think they have a very good team, but I don't think the Kingsbury is the right coach for him. I love him as a person, but I think he's lost the locker room. He has a very calm demeanor, which I respect. He's a likable guy. I just don't think he's a good NFL head coach at this point. Not for the Cardinals. Maybe in the future. But I just, I think that they're in just a tough spot, and this is a big injury for them. And the next coach is gonna have to. The next coach is gonna have to be. They're gonna have to get a lame duck year, right? So maybe Sean Payton wants that, and I totally agree with them fixing the defense. Maybe they get D'Amico Ryans from San Francisco. He brings in a offensive assistant from San Francisco that runs that type of offensive system. Maybe they run the ball a lot, and then D'Amico Ryans can maybe fix the defense. Maybe that's just an option, or you go after Sean Payton, or another offensive guy. But they have to know that the GM that they're hiring and the coach that they're hiring they got to give them. I don't want to say next year is lost, but they gotta, next year they have to understand they don't have Kyler Murray because they're probably not going to bring him back. So he's probably not going to play next year because if say Colt McCoy comes back, Zach Ertz comes back, D Hop, Marquise Brown, they hire Sean Payton, and you're fourth. Let's say you're 7-6. Then maybe Kyler Murray comes back. But if you hire, let's say Sean Payton again, but without Kyler Murray, Colt McCoy has some limitations. They're 5-8. You're not going to bring Kyler Murray back. You're just going to wait till he's totally healthy because you want, at least for him to have. I hope he doesn't lose all of his athleticism, but we've seen ACLs are pretty, they're pretty hard to come back from. I know that medical science, it's easier to come back from back in the day, but he might lose some athleticism. He might. I don't think RG3 did his first one, but his second one, he definitely lost some athleticism. So the owner has to understand patience at this point in time. And, now everybody says it's not an appealing job. I'm not going to lie. If I was a head coach, I would not go there. Not without Kyler Murray. I'm going to be honest with you. I will be dead honest. And if somebody's like, oh, man, you might not get another opportunity. It's the NFL. Another opportunity will come up. But, you don't want to be in a position where you go 2-14 and then they fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Cardinals don't have a good history of patience. If you come in there, you don't do good, the head coach, say they hired D'Amico Ryans, he comes in there, they go 5-11, and he fires him and gets another head coach because, so there has to be an understanding of the expectation of next year. Because, we've all seen, now listen, unless you're Kyle Shanahan, or Pete Carroll, now if they get Sean Payton, maybe he can replicate that, but it's hard. It's hard to win without in the NFL, especially this time of year without a quarterback that's dynamic. But they got a lot of work to do, man. They got a lot of work. All right, Craig. 49ers, man. As you see the title, Mr. Irrelevant throws a Brock party. What? Here's Mo. He picked the Bucs. He was crazy as a bug, man. Mo, what's up? What's up?
What's going on, fellas?
Yeah, man. I was just asking Craig, what does he think about Craig? So what you think about the Brock Purdy, first rookie to beat Tom Brady? I never knew this was a stat. I didn't know Tom Brady was like 7-0 against rookies. But I guess because he was with Belichick, that makes sense.
No, that's not right.
What was he against rookie quarterbacks?
He was just undefeated against, I guess, quarterbacks that made their first start. But
okay.
Up until because he did lose to
Lamar.
He lost to Pickett this year. He did lose to, I think he lost to Lamar too, but he lost to Pickett this year.
Oh, so it was quarterbacks making their first start. Okay. Thank you for that. So how far can Brock Purdy take the 49ers?
Well, just like last week, I was high on the 49ers just because they have the best defense, or one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have guys around Purdy that can make plays. Like, he didn't really do a lot last week. He had under 200 yards passing. The defense obviously did their thing. And, he has Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, Deebo Samuel, who's hurt, but hopefully the injury's not too serious. I think he's going to be able to come back at some point this season. Brandon Ayuk, and then you have Kittle. So you have guys out there. All Brock Purdy has to do is just not turn the ball over, not force the ball in the tight situations, not try to be Aaron Rodgers or something like that, or Patrick Mahomes, and make ridiculous plays, or try to make ridiculous plays. Just go out there and run the offense. Be Alex Smith, basically, like a game manager or something. Just manage the game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just go out there and try to get around 200 to 230 yards passing, little short dump off passes or screen passes or whatever to Christian McCaffrey, and just try to work the ball down the field that way, and keep your defense fresh, and they'll be fine. Like, obviously they're not going to boo a 35-7 spot, but every week. But who knows? They have a really good defense, so that's pretty much all you really need from Purdy at this point. Just not to turn the ball over and not to be a hero, and just make the right play, just make the right read. I know it's quarterback position, and you ask him to do all this stuff in a X amount of time, but that's why he plays quarterback. So I think they'll be fine. I think I think this is a big game for them coming up. I think they'll still win the division, but just in terms of it's pretty much, I think it's his first road. It is his first road game. So first road game, short week against a division rival who's coming off of a big loss, and I think it's going to be. They've already beaten this team once early this season, so I expect kind of the same thing. I expect them to get about 200 yards passing, leaning on Ayuk and CMC for the most part, and just doing what he did last week and when he came in and filled in for Garoppolo. Just not turn the ball over, and I think he's going to be fine. He's proven that he can be trusted out there. So, I think he's it's hard being like Mr. Irrelevant and turning that around, but he's doing it. So until he proves me otherwise and does a Mitch Trubisky like he did last week with 3 picks, I'm gonna keep rocking with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, the biscuit. That was his nickname, man. I'm gonna forever say that. That was his nickname in college. Brock Purdy. So the good thing is, I agree with you, Craig. And listen, if Jimmy, no disrespect to all the Jimmy Garoppolo lovers that are out there, but if Jimmy G can run the 49ers offense, I think Brock Purdy can. I think if he limits his mistakes, game manage it, and gets it to the playmakers, then they'll be okay. Their defense is phenomenal, and their defense doesn't look like it's going anywhere. So it just looks like they're gonna have the same defensive pieces back next year, and then they got cap space because they'll have two potentially rookie quarterbacks. We'll talk about that another time. Of you know, who do who starts, because if Brock Purdy leads them deep in the playoffs, but that's a great problem to have, right? That's what NFL franchises want to have. Two good quarterbacks on the roster. So I think the 49ers are fine. I got them, we'll talk about this later, but I kind of got them winning out. Their defense is just that good, and they have so many playmakers. And also, before I go to Mo, did you know that he's thrown 3 deep passes and Jimmy G only threw 2? The whole time he was at San Francisco, because San Francisco knows Jimmy G limitations, and they let Brock Purdy rip it. So it's very interesting. But I think they can. I mean, this is the time of year that you want to play defense and run the ball. So I think San Francisco 49ers in a good spot. All right, Mo, what you think? Brock Purdy?
I mean, when your defense is elite like that, they're gonna be in every game. I don't think, I think as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, if they're able to run it well, they're gonna be in every game. I like his confidence. He's coming out there. He has nothing to lose. I mean, I feel like he had nothing to lose in this sense because you the third quarterback. You're a 7th round draft pick. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because the defense is top. Somebody might look at him if he throws picks, but I like what I see. And I think if they win tomorrow, they win the division. Even if they lose tomorrow, they still can win the division the following week against us. So the division pretty much locked up. I need San Fran to win tomorrow. So I like what I see, and I think they're going to win tomorrow. I think Seattle's going to come out motivated, though. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah.
But I can see it being very close, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. All right. Corey, how far do you think Brock Purdy could take the 49ers?
I mean, I believe I mentioned it last week, but honestly, as long as that team can stay relatively healthy, I think they can make a run at a Super Bowl, much like Tampa Bay did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 3 years ago, whatever it was now. They're built pretty similarly to that team. They've got a lot of talent at the skill positions. They've got a really good defense. And as long as the quarterback goes out there and doesn't blow the game for them, you can win that way in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know if their defense can get on the dominant level streak that Tampa Bay did in that Super Bowl run, but the Niners have a really good defense, and there's nobody in the NFC that scares me. So, I mean, I know Philly's got 1 loss right now, but there's still a lot of question marks for that team. They're a really young team, and a lot of those 49er guys have been there before. They've got some experience on that roster. So I like their chances as much as anybody in that conference, honestly.
Yeah, I love it, man. This is going to be interesting because if they go like to the championship game, then it's going to be like, how good is Jimmy? There's no need to bring Jimmy G back because they got Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, and we'll talk about that next week, and maybe we'll talk about it now. Let me ask Mo. Mo, let me ask you this, Mo. Tom Brady, he's regressed this year. Don't know if you know that. Maybe everybody sees it. Not laughing, but it's kind of, I don't like it when great players start to fall off. You see it though, because they're so great. But Mo, because Tom Brady's regressed this year, do you see the Bucs making the playoffs? And do you think it's his last year?
The only reason I see him making playoffs, I can't trust those other teams. I mean, I like what I saw. I mean, I like what I'm seeing from Carolina, but I mean, I don't know if I can trust it to be consistent enough to make the playoffs. But I think Tampa's going to make it by default. And honestly, how their offense looks, they'll struggle against Dallas because they're going to have to score. Because if you look at it, they get in, they're going to be the 4th seed. Dallas pretty much is locked up the 5th seed. I mean, I don't think they're going to catch the Eagles in the division.
Yeah.
So looking at that matchup, I just think Brady and them going to have to score. Like, they're not going to be able to sit there and beat Dallas on some 16-10, 17-10 type game. I don't think that's going to work against Dallas. So it definitely be interesting. I honestly, I can see him. I'd be highly shocked if he doesn't retire this year. Like if he requests a trade and goes to like San Francisco or anywhere else for what, 1 year? He's not gonna play 2-3 more years.
Interesting.
I mean, his receivers have let him down, but he's missed throws. They don't. It kind of look. The body language looks like they don't believe in him like that anymore, like they used to. In some type of discord. Even him and the old coordinator, Brian Luffers, they're not on the same page at times. And I hate for it because Brian Luffers probably will get a coordinator job somewhere else. But if they get if they do a new head coach, he's not. I don't think they're going to retain him because more than likely they're going to hire an offensive guy. So they just gave Todd Bowles a chance as the defensive guy. They're probably going to grab an offensive guy who's probably going to want to bring in who's probably going to want to call plays and probably bring in, his own quarterback coach or somebody to be like understudy him. So I don't see Brian Luffers staying.
All right. Corey. Tom Brady's regressed. We all see it. Do you have the Bucs making the playoffs this year? And do you have Tom Brady coming back next year?
I do think the Buccaneers back their way into the playoffs because of the division they're in. There's the Saints were realistically probably the team that was best equipped roster-wise to make a run and win it other than them. If they struggled, the Saints have imploded this year. Sorry, Craig, I don't think Carolina's going to make a run to win the South. And it is what it is. I have zero confidence that they'll be able to do much once they get there. Like I don't know how far the defense will be able to carry them in a postseason run. You point to him dipping out on training camp, and it just feels like Tom Brady hasn't been locked in on football this year, which is kind of unusual for someone like him. But as I say, it's countless guys. I know Favre has said it. I believe Manning. It's the games themselves aren't what drive people to retire. It's all of the work that goes to getting ready for those games on Sundays that they just can't do anymore or don't have the drive to do the way they used to. And that's what pushes people to retire. And it feels like Brady may be close to that. I know he's cares about his image and is very cognizant of that. I don't know that he'll want to go out like this year. It has been a bad year. That offense has just looked awful this season. But I will say he also kind of looked like this his last couple of years in New England when they stopped having a lot of talent on the offensive side of the football. So, I know the skill position talent, yes, they don't have Gronk. They've had injuries, but like the receiving core is still pretty solid. Like the offense shouldn't be having the struggles that they are. I know we'll get into it a bit later as well, but you look at it, I think it probably should be his last year. I'm sure he's going to want to try to come back one more year and go out on a better note. But you look at the landscape of the NFL, you look at his career, and you look at this season and how many guys like Matt Ryan and veterans that have kind of fallen on their face and struggled. I'm not sure what the opportunity would be for him to come back. I know San Francisco's thrown out there a lot, but if you've got a guy in Brock Purdy, you've got your guy of the future in Trey Lance, like does bringing in an aging Brady fit what they want to do? Is Brady going to want to mold into what Shanahan wants? We already know Brady wanted to leave New England because Belichick wasn't giving him enough input on stuff. He wanted Bruce Arians gone because Arians wasn't taking enough of his input. Shanahan isn't going to want to listen to that. He does his thing, and his systems worked offensively. So, yeah, I don't see a landing spot for Brady. Maybe New England if he wants to try to have that fairy tale final season and like bring the Patriots back to the playoffs or something. But I don't see where that storybook ending can possibly be written from him, at least looking at the landscape right now.
All right, Craig, you're an NFC South guy, right? We talked about this off camera. Do you see the Bucs making the playoffs this year? And is it Tom Brady's last year?
I think the Bucs make the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be easy because, unfortunately, the Panthers are winning games. So, I'm kind of torn on that. But
you want them to take?
I mean, it's not even that I want them to tank. It's just that they're not improving their draft stock at this point by winning game. I don't know, man. It's weird. I like to see my team win and all that, but
yeah, I got you.
I don't know. So,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It's a little weird thing, but I mean, even if they get into whoever gets in the playoffs in this spot, most likely, unless Dallas plays like they did last week, they're probably going to lose. So, I mean, what do you gain from that? Just whatever. So I do think that the Bucs get into the playoffs. They have a little bit harder schedule than Carolina does. They play Carolina one more time. It's in Tampa. I think they both could be they both could be 6-8 coming into after this week, and because Tampa I think has Cincinnati and Carolina has Pittsburgh, so they both could be. And if that's the case, then Carolina could be in first place going into week 16. So
it's week 16. So they got the Cardinals. So the Tampa Bay has the Bengals and the Cardinals, and the Panthers got the Steelers and the Lions.
Yeah, so Carolina could be in first place going in next week, but I think at the end, that game in Tampa with Carolina versus Tampa, I think Tom Brady will find a way to win that game, and that'll ultimately get them the division probably at 8-9 or 9-8 or something like that. But I just Tampa Bay to me has too much talent on both sides of the ball to be in this situation. Like I don't know. I mean, I know they can't run the ball. Offensive line has some issues in terms of injuries and things like that. And Tom Brady is looking like he's 45. But I mean, they have a lot of talent on offense. They have almost the same defense. They're missing a few pieces that they had from a couple years ago. But I mean, for the most part, it's basically the same team. I mean, the coach has changed, obviously. Maybe not responding to the coach like they have been with Bruce Arians. Maybe it's just Tom Brady all of a sudden. I don't know how you go from 43-12 to now 17-5, and all of a sudden now you just hit the cliff or hit the edge of the whatever and just fall over that. I don't know, but looking at some of the quarterbacks, he's lost to Kenny Pickett, he's lost to Brock Purdy, he's lost to PJ Walker. Like this is just not what I guess from what I've been seeing of Tom Brady, what he's been able to do against lesser known quarterbacks. And he just hasn't done it this year. So I do think they make the playoffs just because of their schedule. And I just don't think Carolina is up to I don't think Carolina's good enough. And Atlanta, I don't think they're going to their rookie quarterback. So I think they're pretty much just giving up on that one and just seeing what they got in Ritter before the season's over. And the Saints are just terrible. So I mean,
terrible.
So I do think the Bucs make the playoffs. As far as Brady retiring or not, I don't. I'm going to say no just for now, just because I think even if he doesn't come back to Tampa, there might be a team that can persuade him, but also it has to be a contender. It has to be a team that I would assume has offensive talent on it. I don't know who that's going to be right now. It could be Arizona. I mean, they have offensive guys on that team, They just don't have a quarterback.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about Arizona. They're not going to be there for a year. Yeah.
And he doesn't really need to be there that long. Same thing with San Francisco. Obviously, that's been the talk, I guess. We have to see what Brock Purdy does the rest of the way. But I mean, I think Arizona with a new head coach, that could be a good fit for them. They just need to figure out the defense. Obviously, the defense is not going to be the same. The division is not going to be the same. It's going to be harder. And so, who knows? But I just don't think he wants to go out this way. I think he wants to prove that he has something left. And I think once next season happens, for the most part, that whole divorce thing will kind of be gone. I mean, he'll probably still be going through the whole proceedings and things like that, but maybe that'll be less of a distraction for him, and he can kind of focus back on football. I don't know if that's the reason why he's been not as good or not as sharp as seasons past, but I think it's part of the reason, or it's a percentage of it has to do with that. But I don't know. I think we'll see what happens. I just don't think he wants to go out this horrible and have this team be 6-7 with all this talent. So I think he'll probably make another run if a team is calling for his services, basically.
Yeah. So Tom Brady has regressed this year. Like I said earlier, man, I don't like seeing players like that. I mean, that pass that he threw when Mike Evans was in the end zone, he threw in the dirt, was bad. Mike Evans looked frustrated as well. And, I think there's a reason why. And this is like Corey said, he mentioned this, but there's a report that Brady's been holding meetings with his skill position players on Saturdays, making adjustment to the game plans, and the coaches aren't aware until the game is going on. So fast forward, Corey said Belichick was like, no. Bruce Arians will come in and be like, what is this? No. Right? So here's the thing. Not knocking Tom, but I know the coaches spend a lot of hours developing game plans. They spend a lot of time in that film room, maybe more than players, because that's their job. So I think that he's been, first of all, he's kind of disrespected his coaches, and now it's looking like doesn't know what he's doing because they're not winning. They're not winning. You're holding meetings with your skill position players. You're not letting the coaches. You're making game adjustments, and you're losing. I was watching Any Given Sunday the other day. He's pulling a Willie Beeman, man. Changing plays in the huddle, coach. Can't do that, man. You're going to lose. Like, think about it. He's losing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, maybe he goes to a place that doesn't allow that. I don't see him in San Francisco for that reason. Somebody said the Commanders, Mike Florio said the Commanders, so he could fill seats in that busted down stadium. Those were his words. Like, I hope not. So I hope not. But even though I'm a Commanders fan, I don't know if I want to see a 46-year-old Brady. I think I'm good on that. Not especially if he's changing game plans. I'm straight on that, man. I'm good. And last year in the NFL, this is the hard thing. I don't know. He's told people he's playing till 45. He might be just tired, man. He might want to spend time. Craig, you mentioned the divorce. He might want to spend time with his kids, man. He might want to retire. But, he could go out Las Vegas. Josh McDaniels is there. He's going to have options. We don't know how the landscape, they don't own Carr yet. They could trade off of. I don't think they should do that. I think they should They lost a lot of close games this year. I think they should, I'm a big fan of consistency, man. So I think Raiders should bring everybody back and see how it goes. But I don't. It's hard to say. I don't know if he retires or not. But the way he's gone this offseason, going to weddings, saying that he missed a lot of time with family. He retired last year, then came back. I don't know if the divorce played anything into it. I'm married. It could be a plethora of things. It couldn't even been about football. There could have been could be so many other things that's going on. We just assume it is because that's what he's playing, but it could be something totally different. So I don't know if he comes back because I know he's competitive and doesn't want to go out like this. But he might go back to New England. They'll accept him. One last hurrah, see if he could do it. They have no skill position players though, and that AFC is only getting better. The AFC is only getting better. The Ravens defense looks really good. Joe Burrow looks really good. Josh Allen and the Bills aren't going anywhere. I can only imagine. Say the Jets get Jimmy Garoppolo, they're going to be competent. Miami's not going anywhere. Chargers are still there. Denver's going to get a new head coach. They might fall some noise. The AFC is just, it's littered. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if he wants to go out there. So we'll see, man. I don't know, man. I don't know if he wants to go out like that, but maybe he does. He already did the accomplishment that he did when they were a wild card and they go to the Super Bowl and beat Mahomes. First year in Tampa, he's good. He could have retired that year. Everybody would have been like, okay. He's made a statement. He won a Super Bowl without Belichick. He's straight, man. He has, I don't know, probably has all the records. I'm assuming most of them. He'll be all right. And he just signed a lucrative deal with Fox. He'll be all right. All right. Now, everybody watched the Chargers game. The Chargers beat the Dolphins on Sunday night. Do the Chargers make the playoffs? I'm going to start off with this one. I think they do. I think that win was good enough to put them into the playoff picture. And unfortunately, Mo, they make the playoffs. The coach is coming back. So I think they're getting healthier. And I was surprised because I think I picked the Dolphins. Yeah, I was pretty shocked. It was a good game. We'll get to talking about Tua's struggles later. But I do see the Dolphins. I think this win kind of pushed them in the playoffs, and we're going to talk about that landscape later with the AFC and NFC. But I think they pushed their way. They have who they have left. They have their final schedule. They have the Titans, Colts, Rams, and Broncos. They might lose to the Titans. They might, but those other three teams are very winnable. Colts, Rams, and Broncos. So, I think they finished 10-7 or 11-6. I think they make the playoffs, So I think they do. We're going to start off with Craig. Chargers beat the Dolphins on Sunday. I know you said it. Did you say it last week? I think you did. Or was it the week before that you said they were going to make the playoffs?
Yeah, I've been with them the whole season.
Yep.
So I'm still sticking with them, obviously. I think they'll make the playoffs. They have, of course, the Patriots are right now in the 7th spot, but their schedule to end out the season is hard. The third hardest.
Brutal.
The Bills, the Bengals, and the Dolphins. So,
brutal.
And they get the Raiders in there too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's tough. The Jets get the Dolphins and the Seahawks. Other than the Titans game, like you said, the Chargers really don't have anybody. And they get the Titans at home this week, and the Titans are just going the opposite direction. So I don't know what to expect from them. They just happen to be in a bad division. So even if they lose 4 games in a row, they'll still be in first place. But yeah, I think the Chargers are. I think last week's win against the Dolphins was a really big win. Tough game, had playoff type atmosphere, and they were able to hold off the Dolphins. So I think they'll carry that momentum into this week, and then to finish out the season. And possibly they can get the 6th seed if they keep playing the way they're playing and just keep rolling. But yeah, I definitely think they'll get in. And like you said, that means Staley's going to is going to probably come back as the head coach.
You have to. You're not going to fire a coach. Yeah,
might be a good thing or a bad thing, but you know, I think it's a good thing for the team and for the organization, but for them just to make the playoffs. But I just don't believe in Staley. But I don't know. But I think they'll make the playoffs.
Corey, Chargers went over the Dolphins. Does it solidify?
No.
What? All right.
Look, the stage is set for the Chargers to make the playoffs.
Okay.
Because realistically, in the AFC, and as we'll get into later, the NFC as well, you have 4 teams competing for 2 spots: Dolphins, Chargers, Patriots, Jets. The Chargers, by far, have the easiest remaining schedule of those 4 teams. And now they have the tiebreaker head-to-head against the Dolphins. Because you look at Miami is at Buffalo, Green Bay, at New England versus the Jets. Like that Week 18 game could decide a playoff spot. The Patriots are at the Raiders, at home against Cincy, at home against Miami, at Buffalo. That is brutal.
Yes,
because the Raiders are the easiest team,
and they might lose. You know?
Yeah, for as bad a coach as Josh McDaniels is, McDaniels knows the Patriots. And the Jets have Detroit, which is not an easy game anymore. Jacksonville, who the hell knows at this point, at Seattle, at Miami. The Chargers should coast into the playoffs, but they are still the Chargers. Just because they should get in, like they should have last year, doesn't mean they will.
Yeah.
So yes, I think they should be in the playoffs. I can't say it's a guarantee because they are still the Chargers, even in a new city.
Yeah, they should. I read out their schedule. They definitely should. Mo, Chargers beat the Dolphins. Does this solidify them in the playoffs?
I'm gonna say yes only because the Patriots' offense just is terrible. If the Patriots were a little bit better offensively, I would take the Patriots. I think just their schedule and the fact that their offense, they just can't make explosive plays. I think that's going to hurt them.
That's because they don't have an offensive coordinator.
That's fair. That's fair. So I think that's going to be brutal for them. But I also can see the Chargers blowing it because if you look at it right now, you're going to get 2 teams from the AFC North. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get 2 teams from the AFC North. Right now, you're going to probably get 2 teams, I think, from the AFC East. So now what does that leave? That leaves 1 spot. I just don't see the Dolphins falling out of the race, not going to playoffs at all. If they do, Tua's going to get a bad rap that I think is not undeserved, but he's going to take a lot of the heat for that because a lot of people will say, we brought you Waddle, we brought you Hill. We brought in 2 offensive linemen, we gave you weapons, and you still made the playoffs. So, but I think Chargers are going to get in, but they're going to be 1 and done because they're going to get if they get in, they're going to get the 7th seed at best. And then guess what? They got New England or Buffalo first round. That's ding ding. That's bye-bye. You know, you good showing up. I mean, you know, we appreciate your participation in the playoffs. They ain't beat neither one of them.
Well, we're gonna get to that. I'm gonna ask Craig this next one. Tua. He struggled the past 2 games. Have your thoughts on Tua changed, Craig?
No, I mean I thought he was a solid quarterback, and he's still the arm strength is still an issue, I guess. But I don't think. I mean, he's just unfortunately he's played against some tough competition on the road. It's going to get probably worse against Buffalo this week. But I guess I didn't really have high expectations for Tua anyway. Like I didn't see him as a elite quarterback or like a top 10 quarterback anyway. He was doing really well against the teams that they played, but the teams that they played were all, besides the Lions, like they haven't really played anybody when they won those 5 games in a row. And the Lions they weren't playing like they are now, or they weren't the same type of team, I guess. That was a couple weeks ago. That was like 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. So the teams that they've beaten post the Bills game, like before that, the Bills game, the Ravens game, the Patriots game, those are all 3 really good wins, especially the game against the Ravens where they came back on the road. So, yeah, I was looking at him a little bit differently. Then he got hurt, and then he came back, and they won 5 more in a row. But now it's like, okay, now it's your team is trying to get into the playoffs. What are you going to do? Can your team make a run? Can your team beat some of these elite teams or some of these better teams that are also trying to get into the playoffs? And unfortunately for them, they've come up short. So, and you know, like I said, this week, I mean, they have 2 more games left on the road, and 2 of those games they're probably going to be cold weather. And Tua doesn't play well in cold weather, so I don't really have. I definitely don't have any high expectations for him this week in terms of going up to Buffalo and trying to get a win. But for the remainder of the season, I think with the team he has around him and the guys that they, like Mo just brought up, the guys that they brought in with Hill and then the offensive linemen, and then the guys that they have on defense, like there's no reason why this team should not. And then how they ended the season off last year, I think they won like 7 in a row. They didn't make the playoffs, but I mean they were on a roll. So there's no reason for this team to not make the playoffs. Obviously, if they don't make the playoffs, it's going to fall on Tua, and people are going to look at him differently than how they viewed him 3 weeks ago or whatever. So it's I mean, this is the price you pay, or sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but this is what comes with being a quarterback. You're the leader of the team. When things are going great, you get all the credit. When things are going bad, no matter what happens, you get all the blame. So I know he's young and he doesn't have as much experience, obviously, as some of these other quarterbacks that are like Buffalo, or like not Buffalo, like Kansas City, and you know some of these other teams, some of these bigger teams. But you know, this is put up or shut up time at this point, and you want to try to get into the playoffs and show teams that you deserve to be there. So I think this game in Buffalo is definitely a huge game for them. The game against New England is going to be a big game for them as well, and even the game against Green Bay, because Green Bay, I mean, if they win this week, they still have something to play for. So, like I said, I didn't really have high expectations for Tua. I just thought that they added a lot of good pieces around him. I thought he's going to have a good season, and you know, I just think he has to end the season off on a high note. I think if he goes 2-2, I mean that's 10-7. I think they'll get into the playoffs still, but like it's not going to be the same as it was a few weeks ago.
Corey, have your thoughts on Tua changed after his struggles?
Absolutely not. No. Look, he had a very up and down first couple of years with the Dolphins. You know, his rookie year, he had offensive coordinator Chan Gailey. That went so well, they immediately replaced him and he had co-offensive coordinators last year. This is his first year under Mike McDaniel. And I think it's pretty apparent the impact McDaniel has had on him in that 1 year. We have seen a lot of progress in Tua this season. And so I think not only having consistency in the coaching staff, but having a really, really good coach working with him, I think bodes really well for his future going forward. I've seen enough of him up to this point to be sold on him moving forward with the Dolphins, at least in the medium term. And he could always turn out to be a guy that could be a good to very good, but one of those guys, kind of like an Alex Smith, that was looked at as a guy that could keep you competitive but not get you over the top. But that's a heck of a lot more. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that be asking for that right now.
A lot of teams. They're like
one of them.
Yeah, Alex Smith.
So it's I think he's proven enough to be in the Dolphins' long-term plans, and things are looking up. I think the Dolphins did a really good job of surrounding their quarterback with a good offensive mind and skill position talent.
All right, Mo. Tua, even though his recent struggles, have your thoughts changed on Tua?
Nah, I think the pressure's on him, though, for at least making the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I think the pressure's on him. I mean, he struggled a couple games. You know what I'm saying? He struggled a couple of games, but for the most part, he's been consistent. You see the team plays for him and with him. They rally behind him. So I don't think that's an issue of leadership. I just think he's had some tough games. You got to think about it. I think both his tackles were missing both weeks, or even last week, I think one of them was missing. Then when they played San Fran, I think both of them was out. Most quarterbacks will struggle with that. You know what I'm saying? So I think if they get healthy, they're gonna be a scary thought. I thought it'd be more scary if they win the division, so people had to go to Miami. But I think with their offense, as long as they don't have to go to a cold weather type of team, I think they might be in trouble if they gotta do that. If they gotta go to a Kansas City or Buffalo in the playoffs, I think that would be a hard task for them. But I think offensively, I think they can compete with anybody. They can put up points. It's just going to be the consistency of being able to make plays and get stops when you need it.
Yeah, I still believe in Tua, man. I think he's a great quarterback, great leader. I think this is the first year they finally invested in him. They hired Mike McDaniel, who's a phenomenal coach, and the NFL is being about consistent. This is the first year he's had trust from the organization. So I think going forward, they continue to trust him. We're still on his rookie deal. He'll get better. Now, I agree with what Craig said. Craig, you have a valid point where you say if you win, it's on you. You lose, it's on you. I got to give a little. Mike McDaniel has to make some adjustments because San Francisco, and this is probably why D'Amico Ryans is going to get a head coaching job next year, is they press the receivers. Chargers did the same. So it's going to be up to Tua and Mike McDaniel to make the necessary adjustments going forward because this is a copycat league. Everybody's going to try it. They're going to try it. So they got to make these necessary game adjustments. And that happens in the NFL. So Tua, this is probably the first time Tua, got hit in the mouth. Now he just has to get back up. And it depends on how he gets back up. And I think he's going to get back up well, too, and throw some shots back. I believe in Tua. I think he's a great quarterback. And now that they believe in him, that goes a long way. So a lot of teams are like Tua. I'm one of them. I think he has a higher ceiling than Heineke. I do. He's a better quarterback than Heineke. So I wouldn't mind if Tua was at a Commanders jersey on. All right. Corey, I probably should have put AFC, but I did everything. With the Giants and Seahawks losing, what do you think the playoff landscape is going to look like at the end of the year? Like, what do you think?
For the NFC, I think obviously the Packers are mathematically in it, but I don't like their chances of running the table.
Nah.
And then getting the necessary help to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, I think the NFC comes down to 4 teams competing for 2 spots.
Mm-hmm.
Washington, New York, Seattle, Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the last 4 games for all those teams. Washington is versus the Giants, at San Francisco, versus Cleveland, versus Dallas. The Giants at Washington, at Minnesota, versus Indy, at Philly. Seattle versus San Francisco, at Kansas City, versus the Jets, then home against the Rams. in Detroit, at the Jets, at the Panthers, home against the Bears, at the Packers. I don't think anybody has a Chargers level easy schedule the rest of the way in the NFC. A couple of teams having a square off against the Niners is rough. I think Seattle may have the hardest 3-game stretch there with San Francisco, Kansas City, New York Jets. But I lean towards both Washington and New York coming out of the pack, just because one, Detroit's a game back. I think they need a little extra help to get there. And it's possible if they run the table. I think it is possible the Lions could make the playoffs. But I also think that depending on how things shake out, both the Commanders and the Giants could be facing teams in Week 18 with nothing to play for.
Yeah. It depends.
Dallas would definitely be sitting there, guys, getting ready for Wild Card Weekend. Yeah. So the Commanders should have a cakewalk, even though it'll be a Cowboys home game in DC. And I don't know what Philly, because Philly has the 1 seed and has a bye anyways. I don't know if they'll do what a lot of teams do and make mistakes and let their guys sit for 2 weeks before playing again. So the Giants could have a rough game at Philly, final game of the year. But unless the Commanders and Giants tie again this week, I think a lot will be known after this weekend of games for how it shakes out. But as the landscape sits today, I would lean Giants and Commanders in the NFC. And then Chargers, I think, easily get into the playoffs in the AFC, and I think the Dolphins get that last playoff spot.
Yeah. All right. Okay, that's interesting. Craig, how do you see the playoff landscape shaking out, man?
In the NFC, I'm still sticking with Philly 1. I'm still sticking with Minnesota.
Yeah, it's tough. I ain't gonna lie, it's tough.
I didn't check this, so they haven't played each other.
No, they haven't.
I think I'm gonna lean San Francisco too. I just don't. I don't really.
I think they go divisional if it's a tiebreaker. Like if San Francisco and Vikings have the same record, I think it's divisional. San Fran will be 6-0 in their division, I think. But
I think conference record is the first tiebreaker.
Oh, conference record. Okay.
I think it's conference first and then division, but yeah.
Excuse
me. Even still, San Francisco has a better conference record than Minnesota right now. So that's what I'm going with. So I'm going, even though they're a game back, I'm going Philly 1, San Francisco 2, Minnesota 3, Tampa 4, Dallas 5, and then 6 and 7. Whoever wins this game this week between Washington and the Giants, I think will probably most likely get the 6th spot. And so I'm going Washington 6, and then 7. I'm still sticking with Seattle. Just looking at the strength of schedule, like the Giants had the 2nd hardest. Yeah. Washington has the 5th hardest, and Seattle has the 8th hardest. And then Detroit has the 29th hardest. So Detroit could sneak in there. I think they have an easy schedule, obviously, to end the season. It's going to be – I just don't know if they can – since that 5-game losing streak, if they have enough to catch up. I think, obviously, if they run the table, they'd be 10 and 7, but I don't know. I got a feeling they're going to lose one of these games. So I think they'll end up like a game or whatever, since they got a tie in there. They'll end up just short. But the Giants, man, the Giants are reeling right now. So I don't know. Their running game is suspect right now too, and then they still have no wide receivers. And Daniel Jones just didn't look good. AFC, I'm still. You know what? I'm going with the Chiefs 1, Bills 2, Ravens, Bengals 3, Titans 4, Ravens 5, Dolphins. Chargers 6, Dolphins 7. I think with the tiebreaker with the Chargers, And then the remaining schedule between them and the Dolphins. I know the Chargers are a bit inconsistent. I just think that the remaining schedule between these two teams is going to probably they probably end up with a tie record, which means the Chargers get the tiebreaker. So I'm not really feeling the Jets or the Patriots. Their defenses are both really good, which travels, but their offenses are horrible. So that's what I got.
All right. So I have, okay. I'm going to start off with the NFC. So the NFC is very interesting. Corey, I calculated it, and if it goes the way I think it's going to go, I think the Cowboys beat the Eagles, which forces both of them to play the final week. I think. Because they beat them without Dak. And I think Dak has a pretty good record against him. I think so, but I still have the Eagles with the number 1 seed, 15-2. But I think they play, Dallas plays, and the Eagles play, which it's not good for my Commanders. But I don't. We gotta.
Interesting.
We gotta really see. Yeah, it's. We gotta see. It's gonna depend. Like Vikings could be a 13 or 4, 5 seed. So but that's what I have, man. I got the Eagles number 1. I got the 49ers number 2, the Vikings number 3. The Tampa Bay, they slide in at number 4. Dallas is 5. And I have the Commanders with the 7th seed. And I have the Lions winning out. I think the Lions sneak in there. They have an easy schedule, man. And unfortunately, we'll get to that later, I think. And yeah, who you got? The Jets are reeling too. Mike White's hurt. Now Zach Wilson's the backup, and
quarterback number 2.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna. You don't want to be doing that this time of year. This is the time of year you want to be solidified with the starter and the pecking order, and team. At this point, every game matters at this point in the year, right? This is the fourth quarter. Everything matters. So it's the Jets gonna have to be on the game. You're basically in a must win every week. But that's how I kind of have the landscape. And for the AFC, I got the Chiefs in the 1 seed. They just have a real easy schedule. I think they win out. Yeah, the Texans, Seahawks, Broncos, Raiders. I think they win out. I think the Bills got the number 2 seed. I think the Bills lose to the Bengals, so Bengals might have the number 2 seed. Because I see the Bengals winning out. They'll be 13-4. They got the Bucs, Pats, Bills, and Ravens. The Ravens is going to be a big game. I did some. I think because the Ravens beat them in the beginning of the year. I don't know if Lamar is going to be back. That's why I have them losing. That's why I have the Bengals in the 2nd seed, the Bills in the 3rd seed. I think the Bills. The only loss I think is to the Bengals. I think they beat the Dolphins, the Bears, and the Pats. Pretty easy. Then the 4th seed, I have the Titans. Unfortunately, I think they will get back into that later, but I think the Titans finish out strong. I think they finish out strong. They've been railing so far. I think they button it up. I just have them losing to the Cowboys. We'll talk about that. Then I have for the 5th seed, I have the Ravens. It just had Lamar Jackson injury. Their defense is playing phenomenal too. Nobody's talking about that, but they need Lamar Jackson, so they're going to be limping in. But if Lamar Jackson is healthy, they're a dangerous 5 seed. Be very. Yeah, I don't think you want to play a healthy Lamar Jackson with. Like they might play the Titans, and they could beat the Titans. again in the playoffs if they play them. The 6th seed, I got the Chargers. I think they have the Colts, Rams, and Broncos. I think they went out. I don't think the Titans game is going to be as easy, but they could. And then I got the Dolphins with the 7th seed. I do think the Dolphins go 2-2. I think the Jets beat them without Tua. If I'm not, I think so. I think he got hurt. Anyway, I can't remember, but I think they lose to the Bills. They beat the Packers. Pats, they're playing the Patriots in Foxborough, so it's going to be cold. But I think they finish out 2-2 and they go to the playoffs. But that's my playoff landscape so far. I feel like the AFC is just a little bit more buttoned up. I love the Jets. I don't see them because of the quarterback controversy, the injuries. Their defense is really good. I don't see the Pats because they don't have offensive coordinator and they're limited. Mac Jones is already limited. He needs weapons, and they're not assisting in that area at all for him. So, and what's that? I think that's it. That's the only AFC teams that's in the playoff picture. Yeah, I don't see the Jaguars. I don't see the Raiders. I don't see the Browns, Colts, Steelers, none of that. So I do see the Chargers. I don't see the Patriots because they're scheduled. I think it's too hard. Mo, playoff landscape. How you
All right,
think it shapes
AFC. AFC, I got Kansas City 1, Buffalo 2. I got faith the Ravens are going to the division, even though it would be better for them to slide to the 5th spot and play Tennessee first round than to be at 3 and possibly play Miami first round. I got Tennessee at 4, Cincy at 5, Miami at 6, and I'm going to say I'm going to go with the Jets. Going to get in at 7. I think that sets up 2 potential higher seeds winning. Because I think Cincinnati can beat. I think Cincinnati will beat Tennessee, and I think Miami might beat Baltimore. I don't know if Baltimore can score enough. What I'm saying? Miami's going to score. I don't know if Baltimore's going to get enough stops or score enough to match it, even with it being in Baltimore. NFC, I'm going to go Philly 1, San Fran 2, Minnesota 3, Tampa 4, Dodgers 5, Washington 6. And I'm going to go Detroit 7. I think Detroit might win up.
Yeah, Detroit is a high possibility. And
that'd be
a high possibility. They're playing really good football. The NFC it's a lot more. There's a lot more things that can happen in the NFC. Seahawks might be 49ers. You never it's gonna get. I think the NFC is gonna at this point. If you're in the NFC playoff picture, if you're Washington, the Giants, the Seahawks, and the Lions, and the Panthers, because like Craig said, if the Panthers win, which I think they will, and then the Bucs lose, which I think they will, the Panthers will lead the division. So it's like this is must win for a lot of these teams right now. Every week is it's
Huntley playing Saturday? Is the Huntley pass protocol?
Oh,
he hasn't yet, but he's practiced each of the last 2 days, whereas Lamar has missed both days of practice. So it's actually, I didn't think Huntley would have a chance to play on a short week, but he's been on the practice field, so we'll see.
Okay, so that might be good. Yeah, that might be good. All right, Mo, any week 14 recaps? Anything that stood out?
Just
upsets?
Just the chips falling like it may for us. Giants losing, Seattle losing, opened the door for us, gave us a great opportunity. Just Tampa. I mean, Tampa now that NFC South. Who would have thought that division would look like that? Like, that's been a surprising. I didn't think it was going to look this bad where possibly somebody's going to win that division at 7 wins. Like, if you told the 4 of us at the beginning of this season or beginning of the year when we all sat down, that's possible somebody's going to win the NFC South with 7 wins, we'd have laughed. We'd have like, what? Huh? Like, we thought this was going to be the tightest race. We thought outside the AFC West, we thought this was going to be the toughest race. And now this might be the worst division.
Mm, 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 mm.
So other than that, everything kind of stayed status quo. Shout out to Baker Mayfield, going through what he went through, and then making a bold decision to leave, and then leading them to charge. Raiders should be ashamed of themselves. Dallas didn't look good, but at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, it's win now. I think we get too high and we scrutinize these teams a little too much, and I think sometimes, yes, that's what we do as analysts, as people who do podcasts, but at the end of the day, it's win. You win, you advance. You win, you keep moving. So I think they'll go in, they'll clean it up. They know what's ahead of them. They know they can't play like that against another team. They can't play like that against Philly or San Fran, or they can go home.
All right. Corey, what's your week 14 recap? What's your thoughts?
The thing that stood out to me most in week 14 was it was really nice not having to watch the dumpster fire that has become the Indianapolis Colts season.
Oh my goodness.
I get stuck with it for my Saturday, so that's awesome. But yeah, 1 week reprieve was great. Good for Baker Mayfield. He's got a really interesting opportunity in LA right now. Both right now and potentially going forward into next season, because who the hell knows with Matt Stafford or Sean McVay or what's going on with that franchise right now. But I think he's in a better situation than he's been in his career. So good for him. Philly looks scary good right now. We'll see if they can keep it going and keep this into the playoff, because as I mentioned earlier, they are a really young team, a young head coach. They don't have a lot of guys that have been there before. So we'll see if they can keep the momentum going, but they're a lot of fun to watch right now.
Yeah.
That Tampa offense looks awful still. I know Byron Leftwich was a really hot head coaching name last year. You got to wonder if his name's going to come up this offseason.
Probably not.
Because listening to commentators, it feels like people are trying to put this more on the coaching staff than Tom Brady. So, we'll see how that actually is reflected when it comes to coordinators getting jobs. I think we kind of touched on the Cardinals earlier. With Kyler going down, I think you maybe have to kind of consider blowing it up. With an ACL, he could be ready next year. He might not. You don't know. You look at a number of the veterans in that team, Hopkins, Watt, those guys they're old at this point. I don't know what they have left in the tank. They've got holes all over the roster. They've had to bench some of their high draft picks. You just blow it up, redshirt Kyler, and come back next season or 2 seasons from now.
Yeah, he might miss all next season, man. He might.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that he might be ready, be on pup and be ready to go come week 7, what are you going to look like? So I know we touched on it. It sucks to see a guy that talented get hurt like this, but it's going to be decision time in Arizona soon, and there's going to be a lot of hard decisions that got to be made.
Yeah. Craig, what's your week 14 recap?
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how people want to go take it, but Panthers won. I'm kind of still torn because, obviously I wanted to have a high draft pick as possible because I don't believe in Sam Darnold or PJ Walker. So,
You like the head coach? Let me ask. Yeah.
He's doing all right. He's doing a really good job. The team seems to be responding. They're running the ball. For some reason, they're running the ball a lot more and a lot better with Herbert and Foreman than they were with CMC. So I don't know. They're not really passing the ball as well, but I mean, and then you got Darnold who can make plays with his legs as well. So, I don't know, man. It's just a weird situation. They scored 30 points and won the game for the first time since November 14th of last season against the Cardinals. So, I mean, they don't score 30 points often. And for the first time in I don't know how many games, I lost count after, I don't know, 3 I don't know what they lost, like 25 in a row or something like that. I lost count. They had to be up to almost 30 or at 30 of games they gave up 17 points and lost. So
Okay.
that's finally gone. I don't know, man. It just took forever. It seemed like. So I thought it was a big win. It was on the road in Seattle. Panthers usually don't go up there and win too many games, so they were able to put a whole game plan together. They got out early, and then Seattle came back, which I kind of thought they would, but they were able to hold them off late. So it's a big win for them, and see what they can do for the rest of the season. I don't really expect much. So look at the Rams and the Raiders game. The Raiders had a chance to get back into the playoff hunt, and then I don't know what happened. They just let Baker go out there and look like Tom Brady did the week before. And I looked at it, there was like a 98.5% chance with 4 minutes to go the Raiders were going to win. And then obviously
that's a big bet if somebody made it.
Obviously they did not. So the Cowboys, they looked the Texans gave this game away. This is why the Texans are 1-11-1 because they had a chance from like the 5 or whatever it is, and then I don't know what that play was on 4th down. It might have been a broken play or just I don't know what that was, but that was a horrible call. And then you just let Dak Prescott, who's been struggling since he came back, go down at 98 yards, take the team down for a touchdown, game-winning touchdown. So this is why the Texans are 1-11-1, and this is why the Cowboys are a potential Super Bowl team. But this was they were 16, 17-point favorites in this game. So I mean, it just didn't look good being at home and then taking the team for granted. But this is what happens sometimes when you just play down to your competition. They got to know, even though Texans are trash, this is still the NFL. So hopefully they learn from that. The Vikings, I'm still not sold on the Vikings. I haven't been really sold all year. Every game that they win is a 1-score game. Every game they've lost has been a double-digit loss. So I even though the Lions were 5-8 and the Vikings were 10-2, the Lions were still a favorite, and it showed. So I don't know what to think about this. I think whoever the Vikings match up with, whether they get the 2 seed or the 3 seed, I think they could be the underdog going into that game, especially if the team that's in the 6 or 7 spot is playing well, like the Commanders, and the Commanders played them tough already. So, or if it's Seattle, or even if it's Detroit again, I don't know, man. Maybe if it's the Giants, that would probably be the only team I think I would take the Vikings as a favorite. But all these other teams, I'm not sure. Speaking of the Giants, they looked terrible against the Eagles. It was a blowout loss. I thought they were going to come in highly motivated after the week before with the tie, and they kind of gave that game away, and they just looked. I mean, I know they're playing the Eagles, but I mean they showed no fight in that game. And obviously, you talked about Tom Brady and the Bucs and how they looked, and Brock Purdy how they looked, and then you got the Chargers, who Chargers got a much needed win in that game. So I thought it was a game that they obviously needed to have to get themselves back into the playoff race, especially with the Jets losing, and then you had the Patriots next day winning. So the next 4 weeks are going to be very telling for this playoff picture. Playoff push coming up. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're probably gonna talk about that every week because it's gonna change, man. It's gonna change. I think, good or bad. My week 14 recap, like everybody else. Rams and Raiders. Corey made a good point. I think Baker Mayfield should stay with the Rams. Number one, he's in Sean McVay's system. Even if Stafford comes back healthy, sit and be backup for a year. I think you'll have a better opportunity. This year, I think you'll go to a place that's going to be looking to replace you. You want to go to a place where you have a potential to start. And we're going to talk about that next week, where we're going to break down a quarterback carousel as every team, if they need a quarterback or not. And, should they draft, free agent, all of that. But I think he has an opportunity to stay. I know people say McVay might retire. I don't see it. I think he loves football too much. Colin Cowherd said that he was like he could retire and then come back in 5 years. I don't see McVay retiring. I think he just loves the game too much. I don't think he wants to go out like that. So I think he'll be back. You know, they'll get healthy. They'll be back next year. They're not. I don't think they're going anywhere. So he'll be extra motivated. But I think Baker should stay there. Once again, it's just been some good games. The Bengals are finishing up strong like they did last year, man. They're going to be dangerous in the playoffs. Cowboys, this is the thing, Craig, about the Cowboys. You're right. You can't play down to at this point in the season. You shouldn't be playing down to your competition because that's going to make you worried about people are going to be like, oh, they're here's the story. I think they will blow out the Bucs. But the narrative's going to be like, will they play down to their competition? Will they play down to Tom Brady in the playoffs? So they just got to be wary of that. I don't think so. I think if they play Tom Brady, they're going to blow him out. But that's just me. But they shouldn't play down to their competition. I think from now on, if they're playing a team, they should be focused and obliterated. Maybe because it was at home. And they thought it was an easy win, and they're looking forward, maybe, but which doesn't make sense because they have the Jags, so they shouldn't be looking forward unless they're looking forward to the Eagles. Because that one day Jimmy Johnson said that when he was coaching Dallas, he was telling Norv Turner, "Forget the Browns, we got Philly next week," and they lost to the Browns. So sometimes I think that happens, so. They might be looking toward the Eagles too much. They're already talking, So, that's kind of my recap. I think the, big wins by the Lions. Philly's looking good. The Ravens' defense is playing really good. I don't think it's getting talked about enough. But if the Ravens can hold on and Lamar comes back with that defense, they're going to be dangerous. J.K. Dobbins is back. They're going to be dangerous in the playoffs, man. So, don't be surprised. And shout out to the Panthers with the big upset. Beating the Seahawks was huge. I thought it was going to go the other way, but nah, y'all are still in it. Shout out to Steve Wilkes. And here's the funny thing. How do the Cardinals look right now? Because I think if the Cardinals kept Steve Wilkes and still drafted Kyler Murray, I think they would be in a better position they are in now. That's just a thought. He looks like he's very old school, demands more of his players. I love Cliff Kingsbury, but I think he's a little bit more loose. And you can tell on Hard Knocks. He's like, all right, guys, just get it together. Keep each other accountable. I think Steve Wilkes is in there like, you effing up. You know what I'm saying? Like, get your stuff together. And the Dolphins, we talked about it, and we talked about Tampa. I wasn't surprised with Tampa. I think they played one of the best teams in the NFL. I was surprised about the Chargers and Dolphins. I think Craig picked the Chargers. Picked the Chargers. I think he picked the Chargers to beat them. But that's it. And you did?
The Dolphins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who you got? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, and then it's going to be very interesting. I can't wait. I think we'll definitely talk about the playoff picture next week. I can't wait because this is the time for football that I love. All right, Craig, breakout fantasy players for Week 15.
All right, so playoffs have started for me. Some leagues I started last week. Most of my leagues start this week.
This week's playoff is big. Now,
if I have a deep league, I'm starting these guys. Obviously, you're starting your main guys, your Patrick Mahomes and all that. But sometimes you have 2 or 3 quarterback leagues, or some people are hurt. So looking a little bit deeper here. Obviously, I'm going with I like Andy Dalton just because he's coming off a bye week. They're playing the Falcons. Falcons are not that good against quarterbacks. They're in the top 10, giving up the most points. And Andy Dalton played well against them the last time. He's kind of played well for the most part, unless he's played a really tough defense. So I kind of see Andy Dalton there. Now, running back, I got J.K. Dobbins. I think him coming back last week, I didn't even know he was coming back. I didn't even realize
I
it.
did.
I didn't even see it. So because I was out, I didn't really watch football this past weekend. So
Okay.
watching what he did last week, and then the Browns give up the third most points points to running backs. And obviously, there's probably going to be no Lamar, so they're going to probably lean on Dobbins a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Wide receiver, I like Mike Williams. He came back last week. Another guy who I didn't know he was coming back. I would have put him in, but against the Titans give up the most points to wide receivers. Mike Williams looked pretty good last week. Still has him, and now you obviously have Keenan Allen on the other side. This could be a high scoring game between them and the Titans. Tight end, I like Dawson Knox. He hasn't really been getting a whole lot of targets, but this game could be a snowy, sleety type of cold game, and maybe a couple of checkdowns to Dawson Knox. The Dolphins give up the fourth most points to tight ends, so I can see that. And then my defense, I got after what I saw from Derek Carr last week. I can't pick him, and I don't know. I'm picking against him every single time, so I'm picking the Patriots defense. I like the defense. I like what they did last week. I mean, even though it was against a Kyler Murray-less Cardinals team, they were able to get a defensive score in there and a couple of takeaways, I believe, or something like that, or whatever. So I'm going with the Patriots defense.
All right, Corey, your Week 15 breakout fantasy players. Corey is in the playoffs, right? Yeah. Are you in the playoffs?
No. Pretty sure I was in last place for our league.
Oh. Injuries for him, though. Injuries. Lamar. Yeah.
Lamar hurt. Cam Akers really screwed me this year.
Yeah.
So I know we've done this every week for over a month.
Yeah.
And yet even I missed it on the breakdown and just forgot. So I got nothing.
It's all good. It's all good. I can go. I agree with Craig. Andy Dalton. I think Atlanta's defense is not good, and I think he's going to have a really good game this week. Also, who I just picked up, don't know if he's going to do good, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm starting him over Geno Smith. I don't think Geno Smith does good against that 49ers defense. I'm starting 49ers defense. Also, I'm starting Mike White. The Lions just give up a lot of points. They do. You know, they give up a ton of points. They said it's not as bad. So I'm going to monitor his practice this week. But I think he's going to play. And running back, I got J.K. Dobbins. He was on my bench last week. And this week I'm going with him starting because the Browns defense is not good. And, you know, it depends on who's healthy, who's not. I might start him over Chubb. I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting week. I don't know, man. That Ravens defense is very good. And for some reason, the Browns didn't run it good last week. So I'm going with J.K. Dobbins. Wide receiver, I said it last week. I'm going to continue to say it. Zay Jones from Jacksonville. Offense is hitting. Trevor Lawrence is playing good. They got interesting matchup against Dallas. A lot of Dallas corners are out, so I think Zay Jones is going to have a good. I think he's going to have a good breakout week. Tight end, I'm going with the Titans tight end. Oka.
Don't try it.
I can't. Okay, I could not say it, but the Titans tight end, I missed out on him because I picked up Evan Ingram, so I'm okay. But I think that he had a good week last week, and Tannehill's going to continue to look for him. Tannehill likes tight ends, you know, so I think this is the time if you need it, pick him up. And defense, I'm going the Cincinnati Bengals because they played Tampa Bay. And I think that Tampa Bay sucks. Their offense sucks. I don't think Tom Brady's gonna have a. I don't think so. I think Cincinnati's gonna put something on them, man. I'm not gonna say Tom Brady's gonna throw interception or not, but they probably, probably hold them to like 10 points, 7 points, So that's it. All right, Mo, who your fantasy breakout player?
Hey, keep it short and sweet. For quarterback, I'm going to go quarterback. I like Dalton. I like that choice of Dalton. I think Herbert's going to have a big week. I think he's going to spell the fact that it's time to go. I think Dak's going to come back and have a big week too. Running backs, I like Knight from the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
I like Knight from the Jets, and I like Trevor Etienne. Wide receivers, I like Jay Jones, and I like Curtis Samuels. Curtis Samuels, he made some plays towards the end with the Giants, but he just really hadn't had that signature type of game since week 1 with the Jags. It seemed like he's been like, either we're not getting the ball, we're not running some of the same things we were running, but I think this week we might try to get it to him. Tight end, I think in a cold weather game, a game like it's going to be, I like Logan Thomas. I think we're going to get Logan Thomas the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I like Logan Thomas. Defense, I'm gonna go Cleveland. I think even with Huntley playing, or if he doesn't, I think Cleveland's going to make it a defensive dogfight. I don't think it's going to be no high scoring game. I think it's going to come down to if Deshaun Watson doesn't turn the ball over, if he's able to not turn the ball over and make certain throws downfield, and we know they're going to run it. We know they're going to be able to run the ball. But Chubb, I think it can be a defensive battle. I think that can really end up being a 17-10, 2017 type of game.
Yeah, man. Corey, I know Baker doesn't care, but he's starting Derek Carr against New England. I was like, what is he doing? And Joe is starting Tua against Baltimore. He probably gonna start Trevor Lawrence against Dallas though. He's probably gonna switch that out. That's what I would. I would switch. Yeah, I would switch them out. I don't think Tua is gonna play good against that Buffalo defense, not that pass defense. In the cold, they're gonna probably run it more, but then their running back is hurt. So anyway, all right, guys, the last segment, my favorite of the night. No. Does everybody have their upset? That one upset?
Yeah. I got mine.
I got mine.
Who did I pick?
I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I think they're -1 or +1. I don't know point spreads. I don't know if that's good or bad. But I'm gonna go Raiders beating the Patriots. I just don't think the Patriots are that good. I think Josh McDaniels knows all of Mac Jones' tendencies. They're gonna play it too conservative, and I think the Raiders are gonna beat the Patriots. All right, Craig, who's your upset pick?
Well, I went with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, I'm not sold on the Cowboys.
Oh, that's a big one. Okay.
I'm not sold on the Cowboys. I don't think everybody's buying into the hype. And you got all these Cowboys fans and everybody. And I know they looked suspect last week. Mm-hmm. But Jacksonville has played pretty well. Other than that, maybe that Detroit game, I think Trevor Lawrence has looked a lot better.
Yeah.
Especially in the last couple of weeks. And they beat the Ravens, pulled off that upset. Last week they looked pretty good last week as well. So I just, and that was another upset against the Titans on the road. So I got to go with the Jaguars. They're at home. Cowboys have a problem stopping the run. I just think Trevor Lawrence is going to make a few more plays than Dak Prescott, and plus Dak Prescott hasn't looked really well. So throwing the most interceptions since he's been back. So I'm going to lean towards the Jaguars, and plus the line went from like 5.5 or 6, now it's down to 4.
That's a good one.
I'm surprised who I'm going with.
All right, Corey. Upset pick.
I am going with the Baltimore Ravens. They are getting a field goal against the Cleveland Browns this weekend. Yes, I know the quarterback position is a ginormous question mark for Baltimore right now. Coin flip on who goes at this point. It's starting to sound like Lamar will be missing another week, which honestly he probably should, because you want him for the postseason, not for the regular season.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, Huntley's practiced the last 2 days, which is really surprising because I thought with a concussion in his Saturday game that there was zero chance he was going to play. But it looks like there's a chance that he will be out there. But even if it's Anthony Brown, I think the Ravens have a good running game. I think their passing game was sporadic at times anyways, and they've got a good defense. They've got probably the best special teams unit in the NFL, and that Cleveland offense has looked awful since Deshaun Watson took over because the guy hasn't played football for 2 years, so of course it looks awful.
Yeah, he's got to get his. Yeah, it's going to take time. Yeah.
So I feel like it. Divisional games are always tough. These two teams don't like each other, play each other hard, and I think a good team getting 3 points is worth taking.
All right, Mo, upset.
I'm gonna throw a wild one out here. I'm gonna throw a real wild one out here, y'all, man. And you know me, I'm all about pride and having pride in yourself and showing up with pride. I'm gonna go Tampa Bay against Cincinnati. I know it sounds far-fetched, so that's why it's called an upset. But I just think Brady wants to go out swinging. And after he sees that there's a possibility they might even make the playoffs. Nevertheless, win the division. So I can just see them coming out with their best game, and I think they can. I think they might pull off the upset.
All right. Well, it's upset, so I'll give you that. All right, guys. I did. This is before we get into it. The first game on here, is it a consensus everybody's going to pick the 49ers?
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Craig?
I'm gonna pick the Niners, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost. I would not be surprised if they lost.
Interesting.
I think the line has shifted from whatever it was, and it's down to 3.
Trying to think, man.
I think the whole Debo thing, shifted the line because I don't think they knew he was going to be out, even though probably.
Oh yeah.
Should have.
But now the line has shifted to. I think when I looked at it earlier, it was like 5 or 4.5 or something like that.
Now it's what, 3?
Now it's 3.
2. Okay.
I mean, Debo's not expected back until week 18, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's a game that everything. Seattle hasn't looked great the last month. 49ers haven't really missed a beat with Jimmy going down. Everything says San Francisco should win this game.
Yeah, it's going to be hard against. I just looked it up. Seattle did not play good. And unfortunately, I don't know if Kenneth Walker's health that's going to play, because they need him. Because he went down and I think he's coming.
Wasn't he off the injury report today?
See, let's see.
Yeah, he'll be back.
He'll be back because they need him. Because without him, that running game was terrible.
Yeah, Walker was off the injury report today.
So, yeah, it'll be good to go. I still think the 49ers win. But, okay, Craig. Which I get it. It could be – it's a divisional game.
I mean, they've beaten them. I don't know how many times, like 3 of the last 4 times in Seattle.
It's gonna be.
4 of the last 5.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be. We'll get into what the Seahawks will do at quarterback next week, but yeah, because if they don't go to playoffs, I don't know what they do. It's gonna be interesting.
They've beaten this team like 8 of the last 9 games in Seattle. So
interesting.
So Seattle just owns them in Seattle for the most part. I don't know though.
That was with Russ.
That's Russ. Yeah, I was about to say.
I love Gino, but
Yo,
he needs a lot of help.
yeah, going back to 2011, they've won every game against San Francisco and at home except for once. So
might be a good bet. I wouldn't make it.
I don't know.
It's gonna
But
be
yeah, I
close.
am picking San Francisco, but
It'll be close.
I'm gonna win out.
All right, so now this is gonna be interesting. I'll let you start off with this. This is my favorite segment, guys. Who you got? We just concluded. We're probably 49ers. Now this is gonna be an interesting one. Craig. I'm gonna let you start out with this one. The Dolphins versus the Bills. Who you got?
All right. Well, coaching wise, I'm going with McDermott. Yeah, I think I'm going with McDermott. I think McDaniel's done a great job with this team. The last couple of weeks, obviously, they played some competition and they looked lost a little bit. But I just think I don't know, man. It's just it's tough because the Bills pretty much lived up to expectations. You could probably say the Dolphins have maybe exceeded expectations at this point, but I'm still sticking with the team who currently has the number 1 seed in the AFC. But it's a close call. I think the job that McDaniels did last week or last time they played against the Bills, they were able to pull it off. The Bills kind of shot themselves in the foot though. They missed so many opportunities in that game, so I think this is kind of a revenge game. And then, so I think I'm going to stick with McDermott. Offensively, I'm just going to stick with I'm going to go with the Bills just because they have the better quarterback. Tua is really he's playing really well. Neither team really has a good running game. I think they both have 2 running backs that they can hand the ball off to, but neither one of those, like out of the 4, none of them are like a number 1 type like Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey type. So you kind of get what you can get out of those 2 guys, but then you add in the fact that the best running back out of both teams is Josh Allen. So he can run, he can pass. So I think he leads the team actually in rushing yards. So
I believe so, yeah.
I mean, you got that as an extra X factor on the team. And this game is going to be a cold weather game. It's going to be probably below 30 degrees. So I'm not sure how much of that. It's going to have to be a running. Somebody's going to have to run the ball. And if Josh Allen can make plays with his legs, I don't know what the Miami offense can do as far as running the ball because I don't really see their running game traveling with them to Buffalo. I do obviously like their wide receivers. Waddle's been I think he has like 3 or 4 catches in the last 2 games.
Yeah, he hasn't been playing good, man.
He hasn't been playing well. I know he was hurt last week or a week before last, so maybe that has something to do with it still. But man, I don't know. And then also on the other side, you got Gabe Davis and obviously Stephon Diggs. Yeah, Stephon Diggs. And then you have McKenzie, who's pretty decent, and Dawson as well. Defensively, I'm going with the Bills. Not even going to waste time there. Their defense has been one of the best defenses this season. And as far as this game goes, like I said, Tua in games under 50 degrees, he's 0-3. Also, he has his worst QBR in those games as well. So, and one of them was at Buffalo. So I just don't know how he's going to fare. He's from Hawaii, and he plays in Miami. So it all worked out as far as it was the best position that he could have went to as far as kind of being the same type of temperatures and things like that he's used to. But I just don't see how he's going to go up to Buffalo with Buffalo having lost that game early in the season. They're still trying to get home field advantage, fight off Kansas City, kind of fight off an upcoming Bengals team. I just don't see the Dolphins winning this game. I don't even know if it's going to be close because the last couple of games for them, I mean, well, at least the San Francisco game, when they played a really good defense like San Francisco, they haven't fared too well. So I just think Buffalo's going to win this game. I think their defense is going to show up. They're not playing against a really good defense like the Jets like they did last week. So give me the Bills. I'm going 27-16.
Man, all right. Corey, Dolphins versus Bills. Who you got?
Kind of like how we kind of pushed through the first game there that we had listed.
Yeah,
I think this is another game that seems kind of one-sided on paper. I would take Buffalo in every category, although I will throw out the caveat that I give the head coaching edge to McDermott on body of work so far. I am a huge fan of Mike McDaniel. He is probably my favorite head coach in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I like him.
He's been a really good offensive mind. He is a fantastic quote, really funny guy. And like I saw one clip of the sidelines where he was talking to Tua about something, and he was like, "No, I effed up. That's my bad." Like just straight up taking ownership when he screwed up something, and that's a trend I can get behind as a coach. So I know if the Colts can land a guy like him in their coaching search, I will be very happy.
Yeah.
But I with this game, I think the weather could end up playing a huge factor. Was last I heard there was potential of 7 inches of snow for this game. Neither team is great when it comes to their running games. They're both very pass happy. So I think that does give Miami a chance. Right now, I just have a little more faith in the Bills to handle adversity with the elements and everything than I do the Dolphins. Solely because of that, I'm going to go Buffalo. Give me the Bills 13-6.
Oh, man. All right, Mo. Dolphins versus Bills. Who you got?
I got Bills across the board. Coaching wise, Mike McDaniel's done a heck of a job, but McDermott, just going on body of work with him. Offensively, I'll take the Bills. Total offense right now. Defensively, of course, I'll take the Bills. I think White's coming back healthy. Ed Oliver's been coming along. Russo's been coming along. Phillips been coming along. So a lot of their draft picks have been picking up their energy. And I think even though I'm picking all Buffalo across the board, I wouldn't be shocked of any result in this game. Like honestly, it wouldn't be a shock to me if Miami won, but it wouldn't be a shock to me if they lose. Because I think right now you're fighting for your playoff life. You understand that right now with other teams coming along, this is more than just a division. This is about you getting playoffs. So I can see both teams coming out real strong. I see this being a real competitive game, a real good game. So, but I am going to take Buffalo.
Yeah. I'm with everybody. Listen, I'm with you, Corey. I love Mike McDaniel as a coach. I think it's a phenomenal hire. I got Bills across the board coaching. I got McDermott just because of the record and what now both teams have been playing well, but I'm gonna show deference to McDermott. Offense, Bills, Josh Allen. I love Tua. I love the receivers. Waddle has not been playing good. I don't know if he's injured. I don't see him playing good. Unfortunately, I don't see him playing good in that cold weather. And you got to run the ball. And teams aren't good at running, but Buffalo's at home. And they got, James Cook has been coming on a little bit late. So I think I'm going to give the Bills the edge in the offensive running game. And the defense, I'm going to go with the Bills. So I have the Bills across the board. Even though this is a divisional game, I think that the Bills are going to win. I think it's going to be very low scoring. It's cold, snowy. This is the time of year where, this is time where you nut up or shut up, man. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. And we're from this area, Corey from Indianapolis. We're used to this. But people from Florida, I'm telling you, I have cousins from Florida. They wear coats when it's 70, okay? This is a real thing. They get cold. I used to be straight, 65. I'm cool. T-shirt. No. My folks turned on the fireplace. Christmas time at 70 degrees, they turn the fireplace on. They say, James, it's cold. Where's your coat? I said, I'm not wearing a coat. I'm from up here. This feels great. 65 feels great. So I'm just saying that just to put in the preference of snowy Buffalo temperature, Miami and Tua. I think the Bills win. I agree with Corey. I think it's going to be low scoring, 17-10 Bills. All right, Corey. Lions versus Jets. Who you got? This is going to be interesting.
For this one, coaching, I'm going to push. I think both coaches have done a really good job this year in some pretty tough situations. It's a little bit flip where the Lions got off to a bit of a slow start, but have caught fire of late, although they were competitive in a number of those early games. The Jets got off to a really good start and have struggled a little bit of late. But I think a lot of that is on the inconsistent. Well, most of that is the inconsistency of the quarterback situation right now. But on the whole, both teams are faring a lot better this season than I think anybody, I know certainly myself, was expecting. And I think it's a push because of both doing quality jobs. Offensively, obviously, I think it goes to Detroit. I think the Jets have a better wide receiver group than the Lions. I think maybe all around skill position talent, the Jets may have more talent than the Lions. But the offense for Detroit is just rolling right now. Goff looks pretty good. They're putting up points every week. And the Jets are just a massive question mark at quarterback. So they made news with announcing that Zach Wilson was going to be the backup this week. So that seems like it's setting the stage to throw him back in the starting lineup, which, Salah did say that they wanted to do, and the plan was always to do. But any team that has a question mark at quarterback, it's impossible for me to take their offense. Defensively, the Jets. Is anybody seriously going to take the Lions defense in this matchup? No. Overall, this game turns out to be really important for both teams' playoff hopes. The Jets do at least close out against Miami, so they can make up some ground in that head-to-head and potentially get into a playoff spot in that game. Depending on how things shake out, I think that can get flexed into Sunday Night Football for Week 18. But looking at these two teams, I see why Vegas has this game as a push. And based on virtually nothing empirical, I have just a little bit more faith in the Detroit Lions right now than I do the New York Jets. So give me the Lions 34-30.
Oh, man. Okay. I like that. High scoring. I love it, especially Mike White starts. Mo, Lions versus Jets. Who you got? Yeah.
Coaching wise, I'm gonna go push. I'm gonna push on that one. It's both have done a great job. I like Dan Campbell. I really felt bad for him at the beginning of the year, when they were struggling, and I was like, they keep struggling, they might fire him. But his personality is all over that team right now, all over that franchise, and I like it. Offensively, I'm going to take Detroit. Their weapons, and now with Williams coming back from Alabama, if he starts to come along, they got running game. I think it's going to be dangerous. Jared Goff is playing with a chip on his shoulder. You know what I'm saying? They got a bunch of castaways on there that people ain't want no more, and they all come together. Defensively, I'm gonna take the Jets. Detroit gives up a lot of points. They have their spurts, but they give up a lot of points. It's just they make enough plays to get by. I see this high scoring, but I think the Lions are going to make more plays and it's going to come down to quarterback play. So I'm going to take the Lions. I'm going to go 35-24.
All right. This is a good one. This is a kind of seems like Corey's right, a playoff game. Coaching, I gotta go biting the kneecaps, man. Dan Campbell, Detroit. That's what I'm talking about. But Robert Salah has done a great job. I just don't think they're gonna be able to button it up. I don't like that quarterback controversy they're not having, but it's a weird space. But wouldn't be surprised if Zach Wilson's starting next week and then then when you start doing that, you're getting into he wasn't playing good when they benched him anyway. So you know, I don't know, but I think that Dan Campbell, the Lions are doing. He's done a great coaching job, and I'm glad to see it, and it's paying off, man. His patience and working up in the ranks and hiring all the players to coach is phenomenal. Uh, Offense, I gotta go to Lions. Jared Goff once again is playing well. So and they have a high pick, so they can definitely get somebody on defense. Maybe another O lineman. I think they're pretty good. Their offense is pretty good. Their receivers, Jameson Williams is back. He played a couple snaps, what they call a touchdown last week. They got St. Brown, who's phenomenal. Jamal Williams has the most touchdowns in the NFL. Swift kind of had a low year, so next year they might draft a running back for competition. But I think they'll probably draft somebody on defense very high. And I think the offense is good. Defense, I'm going with the Jets. The Jets have taken the identity of their head coach on defense, and that's Robert Saleh. And that's sometimes a great thing about hiring a defensive coordinator as a head coach, is that the defense is going to be good. Sauce Gardner's good. And I got to lean towards the Jets. The Lions are a terrible defense. They give up a lot of points. I think this is going to be an exciting game. I think y'all guys are right. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be 35-30, but I have the Lions pulling it out. All right, Craig, Lions versus Jets. Who you got?
Coaching, I'm going with Dan Campbell. I think the job he's done has been he's done a really good job, especially after the 5-game losing streak. Both coaches have done a great job, though. Like, I didn't see one of these teams being in the position that they are right now, where both teams having a chance to get to the playoffs. But I know the AFC obviously is tougher than the NFC and all that, but I just think that the Lions, I don't know, man. It's just like I haven't seen the Lions look this good, especially offensively, in a while, in years. So I'm going with them, and especially with the whole quarterback things that's going on with Zach Wilson. So offensively, I'm going with the Lions as well. I think the wide receivers are probably, as a whole, they're probably better overall for the Jets. But I do like the running backs for the Lions better than the Jets running backs, especially with Hall being out for the rest of the season. I think if they had Breece Hall for the rest of the season, I think I would probably have more confidence in this team to make the playoffs than I do right now. And then you look at the quarterbacks. I mean, I don't know when was the last time I thought Jared Goff was the best quarterback on the field, but I think Jared Goff is the best quarterback on the field between these two teams. I think Mike White is having when he's in there and he has a chance to throw the ball and put up yards or put up points, he's doing a really good job. But I'm going with Jared Goff there overall. So that leads me towards the Lions. Offense, defensively, I'm going with the Jets. It's not even close. So overall for this game, I don't know if it's going to be. I don't really have like a high scoring game for this one, like high scoring. I think they'll go over the 44.5. But I think I'm going to lean towards the line. This is a tough game because it's on the road, but I'm leaning the Lions 27-23. I think the Lions need this game. I think both teams need this game, but I think the Lions need it more. I think the Jets can afford a loss a little bit. The Lions, I don't think they have any room for error.
Yeah. Nah, the Lions don't. You're right about that. They don't have any room for error. All right. Mo. Titans versus Chargers. Who you got?
Coaching wise, this is just, I don't know. Coach wise, just tough.
You don't want to say his name.
I'm just gonna say no. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go Mike Vrabel just off the strength of them being in first place. I think they've been consistent. I think for what they lost, and to still be in first place. Granted, some of the other teams in that division are not playing well or not playing the snub, but I think for them to lose what they lost, and still be in first place, still be well, and they don't break away from who they are. Like it's not cute, it's not sexy, but they don't break away from who they are. They don't try to be somebody they're not, and that's going to hurt. That can make or break them, but that's neither here nor there. Deep offensively, Lord, I'm gonna take Chargers. I think Mike Williams being back, him and Keenan Allen being back healthy is good. You got Eckler out of the backfield. I think Herbert. Of course, Herbert is the Herbert. What I'm saying, is the better quarterback. Of course. Defensively, I mean, I don't know. Defensively, that's a tough one. But defensively, I'll take Tennessee defense. This game, I just think the Chargers need it. I think they're going to want it more. I think Tennessee struggles too much to score. I think they'll run the ball because that's who they are, but I just think Chargers want to make more plays. So I can see this being, I'm going to go Chargers 27-20.
All right. I think this is going to be another good game. And this game, once again, is like the previous game we just talked about. This game matters for both of these teams. And we are in the landscape of playoff contention. So these games are important. This is the bottom half of the season where it determines where you go to the playoffs. Coach, very interesting. I like the way, Staley has coached them. They're getting healthy, but I think what Mike Vrabel was able to do without A.J. Brown, to be honest, guys, I didn't have Tennessee good this year, and they have a winning record. I think in the beginning of the year, we all had the Colts winning the division. I don't know, might not be. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure we had the Colts winning the division, and Titans might have missing out, but they're winning the division. So I got to give it to Vrabel. Offense, I got to give it to the Chargers. And Justin Herbert's been playing good this year. Silenced a lot of doubters last week. Keenan Allen's coming back. Mike Williams coming back. Austin Eckler. They got a good offense. And Tennessee is Tannehill has his limitations. I've been talking about it for a while now. But they also have Derrick Henry. But I just think the Chargers have the better offense. Defense, I'm gonna go with Titans. Once again, their defense is scrappy like their head coach Vrabel. Their defense has taken the identity of the head coach, right? And that's what you want. You want that. And I'm gonna give the edge to the Titans. So this game is going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm surprised at my pick, but I think that the Titans have lost, 3 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see Vrabel losing 4 in a row. I think the Titans beat the Chargers on the backs of Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry has a phenomenal game. And I think he leads the Titans to victory. I think the Titans keep Justin Herbert off the field. And that's how they win a game. And we've seen this from the Chargers where they'll beat Miami but lose to the Titans. And I think that's going to happen in this case. All right, Craig, Titans versus Chargers. Who you got?
Head coach, just because of the 3-game losing streak, I'm going with Staley. I just think that Vrabel's team is reeling right now. Fortunately, they play in a bad division, so even if they lose this week and Jacksonville wins, there'll still be a game up at 7-7. So I think that the Chargers cannot afford to lose games anymore, especially at this point. So I don't think they can afford to have this on their I don't think they can afford lose this game to, especially an AFC team.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a tough game for them. I think Staley's going to have this team ready. I think now that his team is getting, for the most part, especially on the offensive side, getting back healthy. They have their wide receivers back now. Eckler, he's been inconsistent at running the ball, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Herbert has kind of been up and down for the most part, but he's for the most part, he's been up more than he's been down, but he's just been kind of all over the place at times, especially without his guys there. So I think that now his guys are back. You saw it last week. They're just starting to pick up, and I think it'll be fine for this game coming up, which is Tennessee. I don't believe in Tannehill. I don't know who the wide receivers are, and obviously they still have Derrick Henry, and he was shut down in the last couple of games, but then he bounced back last week. But after they were down so much, you can't run the ball when you're down by 2 or 3 scores. So that kind of went by the wayside. He just wasn't able to run the ball or get involved in the passing game either. So I think if they're down, they got to rely on Tannehill to come back. I'm not going to buy it. On the defensive side, I like the Titans defense. Titans defense is better than the Chargers, especially with all the injuries and things like that going on for the Chargers. And I did like the way that the Chargers defense we played last week against a really high scoring, high octane offense like the Miami Dolphins. So we'll see if they can put it together against the Titans. I know pretty much all they really have to do is shut down Henry, which is going to be easier said than done because the Chargers give up a lot of rushing yards. So they're like bottom 5 in terms of giving up rushing yards. So it's gonna be tough, man, for them to stop him. But I think if they can make a collective effort and try to say, okay, Tannehill, you got to beat us. That's what you have to do. For this game, I'm still rolling with the Chargers. I gotta pick the Chargers. At least to win 3 of the next 4 games to get in. This could be one of the losses that they could afford, maybe. To get out of their way and put them back to 7-7. I just don't think they're going to do that. I think they're rolling high off of last week's win. Vrabel's going to take unfortunately, I think he's going to take 4 straight going into next week's game. But I'm going Chargers. I'm going 31-23.
All right, Corey. Titans versus Chargers. Who you got?
For this one, coaching, I'll give the edge to Vrabel. I'm a guy that's been saying most of the season that Brandon Staley needs to be replaced as the Chargers head coach, so can't really take him in a coaching matchup. Offensively, I'm with Everett going with the Chargers. The Tennessee offense is and has been for a number of years been Derrick Henry or bust. I think they were close to getting away from that as A.J. Brown started to really emerge last year, and then they traded him. So everything falls back on Derrick Henry's shoulders again, and I have zero faith in Ryan Tannehill. I know there's been some injuries with the Chargers offense, but give me Justin Herbert. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Defensively, I'm actually going to go with the Chargers. I agree. Yeah, the Chargers have had some defense. They've had some issues stopping the run, which could present a problem for Tennessee. But the flip side of that, Tennessee has given up the 2nd most passing yards of any defense this year and the 2nd most passing touchdowns to anybody this year. And they're only middle of the pack when it comes to actually rushing the passer. And they're going up against a good quarterback in Justin Herbert, who is starting to get some of his weapons back. So that could be a recipe for disaster for them if they can't slow him down. Overall, look, I think this is the type of game that the Chargers should just roll. They should come in. If they want to be a playoff team, this is the type of game that you win, and when you win decisively.
Yeah.
They are the better team. I don't think it's particularly close. And I think the Titans are yet again coasting on the fact that they play in an awful division. Everyone's pointed out, the Titans have 1 win right now against a team that could make the playoffs. The Commanders. That's it. And you guys have pointed out that they've lost 3 in a row, but they've also lost 4 out of 6. And those 2 wins was barely beating the Broncos, whose offense has been awful this year.
Terrible.
And they beat the Packers, which hasn't really said much this year.
Nah.
So the only thing that the Titans have going for them this weekend is that the Chargers are still the Chargers. And for as underwhelming as the Titans usually are, a couple of times a year, they show up and they punch way above their weight. But I can't pull the trigger on picking the upset in this game. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Chargers. I think the Titans can at least keep it close. I'm going to go with Chargers 28-24.
All right. And Sunday Night Football flex. I'm going to start off with this one, the Giants versus the Commanders. Coaching. Man. Listen. Brian DeBall with Daniel Jones is phenomenal. But I'm picking Riverboat Ron. You got Tyler Heineke starting. The wins that we have pulled off has been phenomenal. We've been playing really good football. We run the ball. It's good coaching, and I got to give it to coaching Ron Rivera. Craig called it out. He was like, "Gotta wait the 3rd season." It looks like destiny. Be in our own hands. Offense, I gotta go Commanders. You could go push quarterback, right? The receivers are better. Curtis Samuels, Dotson, and Terry McLaurin are better receiving core than the Giants. Saquon is the better running back, but I think the Commanders have a good balance in Gibson and Brian Robinson. So I give it to the Commanders offense. Defense, I got to go Commanders. I think Commanders right now is a top, I want to say 10 defense in the NFL right now. I think we're playing at all levels really good. We rush the passer. Chase Young will be back. I think that's huge for us. And I just think that our defense is a lot better, it shouldn't be surprising, but it wasn't at the beginning of the season, and Jack Del Rio coached them up. The game, I think that this is going to be what it says it is. It's always close between us and the Giants. Heineke always plays the Giants close. I think that I'm glad it got flexed. I think this is going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to disappoint. I do think that the Commanders edge out because I don't think Saquon Barkley plays a good game. I think the rest, the Commanders have gotten because of the bye week and they're at home, gives them the edge in this one. I still think it's going to be close, and I'm going to go 27-24 Commanders. All right, Craig, Giants versus Commanders. Who you got?
Just because, if you asked me this a couple weeks ago, I probably would have said
The ball,
right on the ball because his team was overachieving, and the Commanders they weren't, or at least they were starting to win games, starting to come on. But I got to go with Ron Rivera right now. The team, ever since they pretty much went away from Carson Wentz, the team has started to turn around a little bit. So the team is a lot better on offense. They started to run the ball a lot better, started to learn the ball a lot more. So they've got that going for them. When Curtis Samuel's in the game, he's able to make plays. Obviously, they got Terry McLaurin. What's the rookie's name?
Brian Robinson.
Dotson. When he was looking really good with Carson Wentz. So I kind of want to see him get back to how he was looking. I know he was hurt, and kind of want him get that rapport with Heineke a little bit more. And then you got like you said, Robinson. Him ever since I guess Robinson and Gibson have kind of gone to that 2-man, and it's not all about Gibson. the running game looks a lot better. It looks phenomenal. So I got to go with Ron Rivera for that one because the team just looks a lot better than what they've looked previously. I mean, they got one loss in their last 8 games. So offensively, I'm sticking with the Commanders as well. The way the offenses looked the last couple of weeks, like Brian Robinson looks really good. Terry McLaurin looks really good. I don't know what's going on with the Giants, and I mean they didn't have any wide receivers to begin with.
Yeah,
and they still don't. And then their running games, like if Saquon's not making plays for their offense, then and he's getting shut down like he has been the last couple of weeks, they're just, I mean, you can't rely on Daniel Jones. You can't rely on any receiver to make plays. So they're kind of at a standstill at this point. So I think they really need to focus on a receiver this offseason. But yeah, I got to go with the Commanders offense. Defensively, I'm going with Commanders again. I mean, their defense is especially they're getting Chase Young back, who hasn't played all season. It's coming off the bye week, so he should be fresh. He should be ready to go. Maybe he probably maybe not played as many series as he would be used to, but getting that game rep, getting his game reps and getting that timing back and things like that, and just getting out there. And obviously the Commanders could have arguably the best front four. I mean, it's only for another 4 games before this offseason happens and somebody's got to go. But you know, their defense is really good. So and then also when they got rid of Jackson from the cornerback, their secondary has looked a lot better. For this game, I think it's going to be a low scoring game. For both teams had a chance to win that game 2 weeks ago. Both teams let it get away from them. The Giants, I don't know what that was when they punted the ball on 4th down or whatever it was, 4th and 3 or something like that, and like 2 minutes to go or 3 minutes to go. And I don't know. I don't know. They looked scared. They didn't look like they had any confidence in their quarterback. Didn't look like they had any confidence in their team. And Heineke, on the other hand, he just makes plays towards the end of the game, and he's always finding a way, like he did against the Colts, like he did against the Packers. Like he just finds ways to win games. So I'm going with I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I think Heineke's going to make a play, and they're going to get the team in field goal range, and they're going to win the game. I'm going 17-16.
All right. Okay. I can see that. Corey, Giants versus Commanders, who you got?
Coaching, I feel like, I got to go Ron Rivera. I'm with Craig. A month ago, I think I take Brian Dable without even thinking about it, but the Giants have kind of cooled a little bit, as I'll touch on again, and Craig just did. Huge objections to that punting and essentially giving up on the football game 2 weeks ago. And I think Ron Rivera has done just as surprising a job to me as Dable has done with the Giants. I didn't think the Commanders would be a playoff team. I thought they would be hovering around. I thought they would be better than last year. I didn't think they would be in the hunt here. I also thought Carson Wentz would play more games. So, him being out of the lineup has benefited another team. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Rivera. Offensively, I got to go Washington as well. The Giants' offense this season has been a lot better than what I thought it would be. Dable has Daniel Jones looking like a viable quarterback in the NFL, but it started to kind of sputter a little bit, and the Commanders have been playing well. Yeah, the running game's getting going. They have better talent at the skill positions, and I think if I had to take one quarterback, I would probably take Daniel Jones over Heineke, just because I think Jones is a more physically talented player. But Heineke's playing really well, and he's the type of guy that he's been able to get it done. Defensively, I got to go Washington as well. Both teams can after the quarterback. I think Kayvon Thibodeau might be the best overall player on the field defensively for either team.
He's good.
The kid looks really good. But I think the Commanders have all around shown to be a better team defensively, especially against the run. So I'm going to give them the edge on that one. But I think it's a lot closer than I think the comparison between the offenses. Overall, again, going to hammer Brian Dable for coaching scared and just throwing in the towel on that game 2 weeks ago, because the Giants' outlook could be very different right now if they win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you're in a situation where you're facing the Commanders. Yes, it'll probably be a bit of a home game in DC this week, but you kind of have to win. The loser of this game is facing a uphill battle to get into the playoffs. I'm not going to say that the loser is out, because as we touched on earlier, I think there is an outside chance. Essentially, if Philly beats the Cowboys, I think week 18, both teams are facing opponents that have nothing to play for.
Yeah, that's gonna be big. That Philly and Dallas game is big.
Yeah. Not just for potentially each other and making the division, it impacts the other two teams in the division.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think the winner of this game does make the playoffs. I think this game is that important. I think for a lot of this year, the Giants have been playing pretty pressure-free football because there were no expectations on them this year. As I know I talked about at the beginning of the season, the only objective that the New York Giants had and Brian Dable had was to figure out if Daniel Jones could be their quarterback. Wins didn't matter. Well, turns out they came out and won some games, and now there's some expectations and there's some pressure because they have a shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah.
How do they respond? I'm not so sure anymore that I have confidence in them to be able to win this game. I think Daniel Jones is in a very similar situation to both Jared Goff and Geno Smith, in that he can kind of cement himself as a starter for this team next year. Mm-hmm. If he comes out and comes through in the clutch and wins a game that can get them into the playoffs, I think it puts pressure on the Giants to run it back with him and give him another shot under Brian Dable.
Yep.
If he loses and the Giants miss the playoffs, I think he gets replaced.
Yeah.
So, how does Daniel Jones respond when knowing that potentially his job is on the line in this football game? Now, I don't have a great feel for this game, but the Giants have lost 4 out of 6 with a tie in there, and I can't pick them to end their skid. I'm gonna give me the Commanders 20-19.
All of us in close games. Yeah, this is gonna be a close game. All right, Mo, Giants versus Commanders. Who you got? This is gonna be close.
Coaching. I'm gonna take Rivera. I think for what it was dealing with the quarterback situation, for what he's had to deal with in his own personal life, for what he's had to do, from Robinson getting shot to the owner acting a fool. I think he's had to deal with so much and still has held the fort down and kept his team focused and hungry. Then I'm gonna go to offense. I'm gonna take us. I understand Saquon, is a weapon. He's a heck of a player, but overall, I'll take our offense. When you add in quarterback play right now and receivers, I'll take our offense. Defensively, I'll take us. I think we've made some strides. I think our front 7 makes the difference. The young dude Davis is coming along well. He started to play a little ball. If we get St. Juice back, and he was playing at a high level before he got hurt, and then Chase coming back, even if he's only playing 10, 15, 20 snaps, that's still an upgrade. That's still an upgrade at the position. So I said, this game will be close. I think I've told people this a lot of times. I said, all week, if you got to motivate, if we got to get motivated for this, you don't belong to play. You shouldn't be playing. Like, we know in Washington what's there in front of us right now. We're at home. When you're at home with an opportunity to kind of push yourself into the playoffs, you got to show up and show out. But I know it's the Giants. What we can't do is allow Daniel Jones to run all on us like he did in the first game. I think he picked up like 3 or 4 first downs with his leg and kept them in that game because we shut down Saquon. I don't even think Saquon had 75 yards against us the first time. So we shut down Saquon, but I think so many times we let Daniel Jones pick up first downs with his legs. So I got us winning. I think we're going to score a touchdown late. I think it's going to be close. And in the last 3 minutes, I got us scoring a touchdown late. I'm going to go 27-20.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, man. I love this time of year. It's real. These games are these games is real, man. And I oh man, I love it, man. I can't wait for this weekend playoffs, and we got Saturday football. So I'm
It's
loving
heaven.
it. Yeah, I'm loving it, man.